Hello, dear students. Today we shall see the continued part of the lesson The Lost Child, written by Mulk Raj Anand. Dear students, before going to continue the lesson, let us see the recapitulation of the previous period. It was the season of spring. The people of the village came out of their houses in colorful attire and walked towards the fair. A child, along with his parents, was going to the fair and was very excited and happy. He was attracted to the stalls of toys and the sweets. Though his father got angry, but his mother pacified him and diverted his attention towards other things. The child moved forward but once again lagged behind because his eyes were caught by one thing or the other every now and then. Now let us begin the chapter. As they neared the village, the child could see many other footpaths full of throngs converging to the whirlpool of the fair, and felt at once repelled and fascinated by the confusion of the world he was entering. Dear students, here throngs means huge crowds and converging means gathering. So here as they were about to reach the fair, the child saw huge crowds of people walking from all directions towards the fair. The dense crowd scared him and he stepped back for a while, but the next moment he got attracted to the mind-blowing crowd of humanity. Let us see next. A sweet meat seller hawked gulab jamun, rasgulla, burfi, jalebi at the corner of the entrance, and a crowd pressed around his counter at the foot of an architecture of many colored sweets decorated with leaves of silver and gold. The child stared open-eyed and his mouth watered for the burfi that was his favorite sweet. I want that burfi, he slowly murmured, but he half knew as he begged that his plea would not be heeded because his parents would say he was greedy. So without waiting for an answer, he moved on. Here, heeded means paid attention to. So dear students, here at the entrance of the fair, to one corner, a sweetmeat seller had set up a shop. He was selling various sweets like gulab jamun, rasgulla, burfi and jalebi. The sweets were displayed at different heights and were covered with the foils of gold and silver. The boy's mouth watered when he sighted his favorite burfi, so he expressed his desire to get one in a low voice because he knew that his request would be refused by his parents. They would say that he was greedy for the burfi. As he did not expect that his demand would be fulfilled, so he walked further. Let us go further. A flower seller hawked a garland of gulmohar, a garland of gulmohar. The child seemed irresistibly drawn. He went towards the basket where the flowers lay heaped and half murmured, I want that garland. But he well knew his parents would refuse to buy him those flowers because they would say that they were cheap. So without waiting for an answer, he moved on. Dear students, here the next stall was that of a flower seller. He announced that he was selling a garlands of gulmohar flowers. The child wanted one of those, so he walked towards the basket of flowers and again announced his desire to have one in a low voice because he knew that his demand would not be fulfilled. They would refuse to buy him the flowers as they would say that they were cheap. Again, the boy walked ahead without expecting a reply from his parents. Let us see the next. A man stood holding a pole with yellow, red, green, and purple balloons flying from it. The child was simply carried away by the rainbow glory of their silken colors, and he was filled with an overwhelming desire to possess them all. But he well knew his parents would never buy him the balloons because they would say he was too old to play with such toys. So he walked on further. Dear students, here overwhelming means a very strong emotion. So the next thing that the child came across was a balloon seller selling balloons of different colors of the rainbow. The boy was attracted to the shiny colors of the balloons and wanted to have them all. He knew that his parents would not buy the balloons for him, as they would reason that he was too old to play with them. So the child walked further. Let us go further. A snake charmer stood playing a flute to a snake which coiled itself in a basket. Its head raised in a graceful bend like the neck of a swan, while the music stole into its invisible ears like the gentle rippling of an invisible waterfall. The child went towards the snake charmer, but knowing his parents had forbidden him to hear such coarse music as the snake charmer played, he proceeded further. Dear students, here forbidden means not allowed and coarse means unpleasant. So here then he paused at a snake charmer who was playing a flute, and the snake was twisting its neck to the music. The snake had coiled itself in a basket and had raised its head out. It bent and moved its neck gracefully like a swan. It seemed that the music of the flute was heard by the snake's invisible ears and created the effect of a waterfall on it because it swayed its neck in a similar way. The boy walked towards the snake charmer, but his parents had warned him to remain away from the unpleasant music played by such men. He walked further. Let us see the next. There was a roundabout in full swing. Men, women, and children, carried away in a whirling motion, shrieked and cried with a dizzy laughter. The child watched them intently and then he made a bold request. I want to go on the roundabout. Please, father, mother. Dear students, then he saw the roundabout swing. It was full of men, women, and children who were enjoying the ride. The boy watched the people on the roundabout and then, with a lot of courage, he expressed his desire to go on the roundabout. There was no reply. He turned to look at his parents. They were not there, ahead of him. He turned to look on either side. They were not there. He looked behind. There was no sign of them. Dear students, when his parents did not reply, he turned towards them. He saw that they were nowhere around. He looked around and behind, but his parents were nowhere to be seen. Let us see next. A full deep cry rose within his dry throat, and with a sudden jerk of his body, he ran from where he stood, crying in real fear, Mother, Father! Tears rolled down from his eyes, not hot and fires. His flushed face was convulsed with fear. Panic stricken, he ran to one side first, then to the other, hither, thither, in all directions, knowing not where to go. Mother, father, he wailed. His yellow turban came untied and his clothes became muddy. Dear students, here hither and thither means here and there. So the boy cried loudly, jerked his body and ran here and there, calling out for his parents. He was full of fear and tears started rolling down his cheeks. And as he wailed and ran around, his turban opened and his clothes also became muddy. Having run to and fro in a rage of running for a while, he stood defeated, his cries suppressed into sobs. At little distances on the green grass he could see, through his filmy eyes, men and women talking. He tried to look intently among the patches of bright yellow clothes, but there was no sign of his father and mother among these people, who seemed to laugh and talk just for the sake of laughing and talking. Dear students, here intently means carefully. So here after some time he gave up his searching of his parents, and the loud cries turned into mild sobs. He saw some people standing and talking and tried to find if his parents were among them. The laughter and talks of the people were meaningless for the child. He was simply searching for his parents. Let us see further. He ran quickly again, this time to a shrine to which people seemed to be crowding. Every little inch of space here was congested with men, but he ran through people's legs, his little sob lingering, "Mother, father," near the entrance to the temple. However, the crowd became very thick. Men jostled each other, heavy men with flashing, murderous eyes and hefty shoulders. The poor child struggled to thrust away between their feet, but knocked to and fro by their brutal movements. He might have been trampled underfoot had he not shrieked at the highest pitch of his voice, "Father, mother!" A man in the surging crowd heard his cry and, stopping with great difficulty, lifted him up in his arms. Dear students, here congested means full of, hefty means large and heavy, thrust means push, knocked means hit, brutal means harsh and rough, trampled means crushed, and surging means powerful. So, dear students, here the boy ran towards the temple which was crowded with people, and he ran through the legs of men, calling out for his parents. The crowd was pushing each other as he neared the entrance of the temple. The boy got scared of huge, strong men who stared people with their murderous eyes and pushed them with their strong and big shoulders. The boy could have been crushed under the feet of the men had his cries not been heard by a man in the crowd. So he lifted the child. Let us see next. "How did you get here, child? Whose baby are you?" the man asked as he steered clear of the mass. The child wept more bitterly than ever now and only cried, "I want my mother, I want my father." So here, as the man got the child out of the crowd, he asked him how he had reached there and what were his parents' names. So the boy cried even more and repeated that he wanted to go to his parents. The man tried to soothe him by taking him to the roundabout. "Will you have a ride on the horse?" he gently asked as he approached the ring. The child's throat tore into 1,000 shrill sobs and he only shouted, "I want my mother, I want my father." Dear students, here soothe means relax or comfort. So the man tried to relax the child by taking him to the roundabout swing. He offered him a ride, but the child screamed and wept loudly that he wanted his parents. Let us see. The man headed towards the place where the snake charmer still played on the flute to the swaying cobra. "Listen to that nice music, child," he pleaded. But the child shut his ears with his fingers and shouted his double-pitched strain, "I want my father, I want my mother." The man took him near the balloons, thinking the bright colors of the balloons would distract the child's attention and quieten him. "Would you like to have a rainbow-colored balloon?" he persuasively asked. The child turned his eyes from the flying balloons and just sobbed, "I want my mother, I want my father." Dear students, here pleaded means requested and double pitched strain means usage of a lot of force. So here the man started walking back on the same route which the child had taken. So he took the child to the snake charmer. He asked him to listen to the nice music being played by the snake charmer, and the child shut his ears with his fingers and screamed loudly that he wanted his parents. The man took the child to the bright colored balloons also, hoping that he might get cheered by seeing them. He offered a balloon to the child, but he turned away and wept for father. The man, still trying to make the child happy, bore him to the gate where the flower seller sat. "Look, can you smell those nice flowers? Child, would you like a garland to put around your neck?" The child turned his nose away from the basket and reiterated his sob, "I want my mother, I want my father." So here bore means carried and reiterated means repeated. The child, actually, the man tried to make the child happy and took him to the flower seller, and he asked him to smell the fragrance of the flowers and offered him a garland. But the child refused to smell the flowers that he wanted to buy earlier, because now his priority was to get his parents. Thinking to humor his disconsolate charge by a gift of sweets, the man took him to the counter of the sweet shop. "What sweets would you like, child?" he asked. The child turned his face from the sweet shop and only sobbed, "I want my mother, I want my father." Dear students, here disconsolate means very unhappy and unable to be comforted. And charge means a person or thing entrusted to the care of someone. So finally, the man took him to the sweetmeat seller and offered to buy sweets for him. Still, the child did not want his favorite sweet but wanted his parents. Dear students, here gets end the lesson. The moral that we learn from the story is that many things can seem to be appealing in real life. Like the little boy kept admiring the things being sold on streets and in the fair, but one must not take them too seriously, as a want can only be wanted but never needed, as we can do without them as well in our life. Thank you, dear students, for your patient listening. Have a good day.